Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll try that again. Good evening, everyone. That's good. We're here to feel this together, and it's not like me to have a piece of paper in front of me to read from. There's parts tonight that I'm going to read because I want to make sure that I don't forget anyone and I don't forget any important details. My name is Sabatino Samato. I am the superintendent, fortunate enough to be the superintendent here in Kenton. And when I use that word fortunate, I think that tonight is truly about us being fortunate. This is the 35th annual ETC Jerry Starr SleepOut. And it is a time for us to remember that we are fortunate. And I don't know how often we realize that in Kenton, that we are a community that gives. We're workers, we give, and we're always worried about our neighbor. So we don't take that being fortunate for granted. And I could truly say that here in Kenton. So tonight we're going to just say a few words, remember why we're here. Jerry Starr was a very, very special person to me. Growing up in Kenton, he was a very special teacher, educator for many. Steve Ash, same thing. And unfortunately, Steve couldn't be with us tonight. Let's keep Steve in our prayers. He's doing better, but let's still keep our thoughts with Steve. And there's many that have given much to Kenton, and a special gentleman that we're going to talk about several times tonight as well. Before we get there and we talk really about what tonight is about, I do want to recognize some very special people that are with us tonight, and then I'll start calling up some speakers before I give our closing words. So if these people could just raise their hand and let's recognize them. Mr. Matt Chimera, our board president, is here this evening. Mr. Mike Fields from ETC. Mike, raise your hand. Mr. Joe Eminger from the Kenmore-Tonawanda is here to join us this evening. Assemblyman Bill Conrad is here this evening. Kathy Paciullo. Kathy, am I pronouncing it correctly? Paciullo? Paciullo is here this evening. Councilwoman Gina Santa Maria and Councilwoman Jill O'Malley are here with us this evening. And Jill is also representing the Kenton Closet here this evening, one of the organizations that all of our donations, half of our donations go to. County Legislator Lisa Chimera is with us this evening. Our wonderful president of our Kenmore Teachers Association, Peter Stumiller, is here this evening. Debbie Finnemore from St. John the Baptist. Where did Debbie go? There she is back there. This gentleman I just met tonight, Skylar Schur, from the Hearts for the Homeless. Where is Skylar? There he is. And finally, and this person has been working all day, works all the time, Mr. John Willie. John Willie is here with us this evening. And a thank you to our technology, to Patrick Finelli, to everyone that really always works so hard to bring this together. So, thank you, Mike. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, it's today and this week have been quite a week, and I started this little conversation here tonight talking about how we've been fortunate. And before I call up our speakers, I want to just talk about a person that we've all been fortunate to know, and that's Mr. Mike Colmar. Earlier this week, We mourn the loss of Michael Colmar, who retired in June after 35 years with our district. Mike always played a very big role in the SleepOut and has participated in the event every year since it was founded more than 3 decades ago, and he was just beginning his career in Kenton at that time. From transporting and setting up boxes to maintaining the fire, Mike did whatever it took to make the event a success every year. He was involved in helping people in need in the community in other ways as well. For example, Kathy and I were just speaking about this evening. He helped to coordinate the annual Christmas tree giveaway for families in need at the former Philip Sheridan building, an annual tradition that has continued for 30 years. In so many ways, Mike embodied what it is and what is at the core of the annual SleepOut, helping others. For Mike, this wasn't limited to his involvement in events like the Christmas tree giveaway and the SleepOut. It was just who Mike was. It was part of his everyday work. For many years, Mike served as head custodian first at the Philip Sheridan building and then at Kenmore Middle School. Wherever he worked, Mike was always known for being ready to lend a helping hand for the students, staff, and visitors to the building. You see, that is what the annual SleepOut is all about. It's not just about collecting donations to help families in need. It's also a reminder to how we need to embody that spirit of helping in our everyday lives, just as Mike always did. So please join me in giving Mayor Mike a huge round of applause for everything for over the years and bringing us together this evening. So this evening I'm going to ask some speakers to join us just to say a few words. We're first going to start with our board president, Mr. Matt Chimera. Matt, if you could come up.
Thank you, Timo. I've known Mike Colmar for many, many years, but about 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to start working with him on a daily basis. That's when the Kenton Big Picture program began at the Sheridan building where Mike was the head custodian. Every morning as the staff arrived, we were greeted by Mike, and when you asked him how he was doing, the response was always, living the dream. That was Mike. He loved his family, his colleagues, and his job, and it always showed. The first day that we had students at Big Picture that year, we introduced them to Mike at our opening day breakfast. And we said, Mike is kind of like the mayor of this place. Mr. Colmar's kind of the mayor of the place. And that name stuck. Big Picture kids started calling him Mayor Mike from that day on, and it stuck with him until he retired last year. Mike was way more than a mayor to the students, though. Over the years, he had taken on several of the Big Picture students as interns in our internship program, where they got to earn credit. As they worked with Mike, as their mentor, he stressed the importance of work ethic to them, responsibility, and the importance of working together with others. Mike worked with students to help them in their senior projects. I remember he and one of my students built a beautiful picnic table as a senior project. He built structures for a vegetable garden with the kids. And one year built a skate ramp with one of our students that was into skateboarding. I've heard from some former students this week, and they're all devastated, as we all are. A few years ago, a decision was made to move the program over to Kenmore Middle School, and although Mike had been at Sheridan for many years and was managing a well-organized and well-kept building, he chose to leave there and move to Kenmore Middle with the Big Picture program. I can't do justice to describing the amount of work that had needed to be done in that building after it had been closed for a year or two. And Mike took on that work, and he turned that building into a prospering place. Mike was more involved with his community than most mayors I've known, and he's going to be sorely, sorely missed by many. It's a tough night. I do want to tell one story on a lighter note, though. Last year we were at this SleepOut, and we were standing around the barrel, and at one point Mike said, it's time for me to go to bed. So he went over into his refrigerator box, which is probably from here to, I don't know, maybe where Mike's standing over there by the wall. And within, what, maybe 2 minutes, there was snoring coming out of that box like you couldn't believe. And the rest of the night, I probably slept 2 minutes that night in my box, which was 2 boxes away from Mike's, but between Tino on one side and Mike on the other, it wasn't a good night of sleep. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you. From Educators Totally Committed, I'd ask Mike Fields come up, please.
Thank you, Tito. I'm speaking because Steve isn't here. And if you know Steve at all, those are incredibly impossible shoes to follow. He is just a tough act. The man is relentless. Yet, he'll step back and say, and what do you think? Because he's always looking for input. Another way to find compassion to help others. That's Steve Ash, just a genuine man of compassion. I don't go back 35 years to start with Jerry Starr and the veteran teachers that saw a need and stepped up to the plate to fill the void. But I can tell you that when I learned about ETC as a new hire, on or about 95, I said, they do what? And I said, come on, that's just not possible. Teachers don't. Teachers do. Kenton does. And if I can just, my own personal view is Kenton is the best kept secret in Western New York. This community's compassion for others is unmatched, and Steve's enthusiasm and his genuine kindness brought me on board, and I'm proud to be representing ETC tonight. And Steve, please say a prayer for him, and he'll be back. I promise, Steve will be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Mr. Joe Eminger.
Thanks, Dino. Two tough acts to follow there. We talk about being fortunate, or unfortunately, I did not have the pleasure of knowing Dr. Jerry. Was it Dr. Jerry Starr? Jerry Starr, yeah. Just Jerry Starr. I did not have the pleasure of knowing him, and I really did not know Mike that well either. But I can tell you when I first met Mike, and that was back in 2008, 2009, when former Supervisor Kenmore-Tonawanda and myself sat down with school board people, and they talked about what is going on with ETC. And Supervisor Kenmore-Tonawanda, being a former educator himself, jumped on board right away, committed to town, and since 2010, I'm happy to say that the first Friday in February, which is where we are now, is ETC Day in the town. And we do have such an unbelievable community of compassion, and I agree, Mike, it is the best kept secret. And it's because of people from the Kenton Teachers Association, the parents of the schools, from the Kenton schools and from the parochial schools, Superintendent Samato, the leadership that they have shown. And the one thing I will close with is this. Steve Ash, I've never met anybody like him. He's a bulldog sometimes. When he comes in and meets with you, he is relentless. Okay, in a good way. In a good way. He loves. Are these snowflakes or ambers that are falling on?
Snowflakes.
Okay, I can't tell. But Steve, he just really is compassionate about, what is being done here tonight. And we will certainly keep Steve in our prayers. I look forward to seeing him again and telling him about tonight. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the town. I'm pleased to be joined by Councilwoman O'Malley, Jill O'Malley, and Councilwoman Gina Santa Maria. The town will always be here if and whenever you need us for anything. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, Joe. And our very own from our own teaching ranks that has now joined our assembly, Mr. Bill Conrad.
I was getting warmed by a barrel. You guys are tough to be sleeping out here in the past couple of years. I want to kind of piggyback on Steve Ash here. 22 years ago, I was a rookie teacher at Kenmore West, and this is a guy who would dress up and jump out of the closet to scare the hell out of kids, keep them straight, talk about tenacity. But what's amazing about him is that tenacity, and when I got elected to the assembly, he called me right away. He said, Bill, you know what I want? I want a day dedicated in New York State for educators totally committed, and for the homeless and recognizing that work. And I said, Steve, I will get to work on that. So these are not easy things to come by. But he wants a UN day. You guys know that, right? He wants a day declared by the UN. And he said to me, this is the first step, right? This is the first step. He's talked to the UN, he's knocked on their door, made sure that they answered, and he got to some bottom floor basement office, and he got them to say, if New York State passed a day or a month, they would work something out. And lo and behold, Steve called me about a couple weeks ago, and he goes, I thought you forgot about me. And he told me, he goes, I told you, Bill, before I die, I want a day in New York State. And, those are really high expectations from a rookie legislator. But I was able to pass on this past Wednesday in the chamber a day to recognize educators totally committed. And again, there's a lot of whereas on this, but it says on its 35th annual Jerry Starr Kenton School SleepOut, this yearly event is held at the complex and so on, but this day is recognized in New York State. So we had that resolution. We made it happen, Steve, before you died. It's a terrible thing to say when you come here and you find out he's not doing well. But I know he's got the spirit to, and I know he'll come to tears actually when we hand it to him in person. And we will do that. It's amazing to get that done, especially in the time frame which you can do that. So I believe brevity is beautiful, as I taught my students. So I'm getting off the stage. Thank you everybody who's doing what they're doing here today, and the rest of the Kenton community. It is one of the best hidden secrets in West Virginia.
That's great, Bill. Steve just brought it up a couple weeks ago. You're right. He said, I'm not going to let off that Bill Conrad. And that's Steve's passion. And now I'm going to invite, as our representative, of course, Councilwoman, and representative of the Kenton Closet. You want to talk about fortunate. We're just very fortunate to have organizations of giving. And I'd ask Jill O'Malley to come up and say a few words, please.
Thank you very much. There are some people that we only see here annually. Debbie and I were just talking about that. I am grateful for so many things, and of course, usually Steve wants us to talk about our organizations, and I think everybody here knows about the closet. So instead of talking about the closet, I want to talk about the people that have made it happen. When I look around, I see like Supervisor Eminger, and a lot of people don't know this, but during the pandemic, we had a little offshoot. We had a food pantry, pop-up food pantry set up, and it was a great time of unknown. We didn't know how people were getting it, how it was spreading it, and within a week, we were able to have space in our former Jefferson school, set up a pantry, and we fed hundreds of families during that time. And I know County Legislator Lisa Shamera, also very supportive of that program. She came down and checked us out. Bill Conrad has stuffed backpacks. I mean, I could go on and on. Really, the people that are here, this small group of people, have really made such a big difference in this community. And of course, I have so much love for the KTA and all the work that they've done, from getting books out to kids and uniting with our steelworkers to do that so many years ago. It's been such a tight-knit family, and we are invested in this community. And I'm so grateful to be here. And Mike embodied and exemplified all of that, and it's such a tremendous loss. I have to say, it's a really classy touch to have all these barrels out tonight in his honor. And my son Aiden is here, and I've spent many nights standing around these barrels talking to Mike about him sleeping out with his son Blake. And I'm just grateful for this community family that's gathered here tonight. And thank you for all you do, and can't wait to see what great things we do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And Jill brought up our KTA. I'd ask Mr. Peter Stumiller to join us.
So there's something incredibly special that's happening right now. With Mike's spirit, with Steve in the hospital, you're here. Snowstorm, snow day, you're here. Freezing Friday in February, you're here. The testament to Mike, the testament to Steve, the commitment of the district, the commitment of all of you, you're here. The spirit lives on. And that's what's so impressive. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Miss Debbie Finnemore from St. John the Baptist. Debbie.
Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here. And my daughter, Megan, and Paul, her fiance, just popped in to say hello. Megan slept out when she was 4 and Katie was 7. And they slept out, it was here, and the cafeteria ladies made a breakfast the next day, and they got a little a little certificate saying they slept out. And so I dragged her to every sleep out until I think she finally said, "No more, Mom, no more." But she actually did sleep a couple years ago. So she stopped by, so thanks, honey. I first heard about the sleep out when I saw it on the news when it was at that little V in the town by the village, you know where the village... The village ring. Thank you. And that's where it was, and it was Jerry and Steve. And at that time, I was volunteering for one of the middle schools as the nurse. And I thought, what are they doing? Of course, when I say what are they doing, it makes me think, I would like to do that. So anyhow, my kids at the daycare put snowballs on a refrigerator box, and a year or two later, I was sleeping out. And they made a little igloo for me. So I think that's how we start. We start with our kids. Our kids are young, and then they grow up. And then Megan's the teacher at Kenton now in the culinary program. And hopefully next year she will get more of her kids involved. And I was hoping that my grandkids would like to sleep out, but they have more common sense. So, and Katie was going to come, but Meg came. And anyhow, I am so, so grateful. I'm so grateful that I knew Jerry Starr and his daughters here and granddaughter. So glad I knew Steve and Mike. You know, I'm only a 32 newbie year. But what a gift they have given us. And I think the best thing we can do is to pass it on and to keep it going. And I think whoever said this is a testament to all of them, because we're here again. And with that, I thank you all for coming. and raising money and funds and spreading the word. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Betty. Skylar Schur from Hearts for the Homeless.
All right, I'll keep this quick. I am the outreach program manager for Hearts for the Homeless. A lot of the, I believe a lot of the donations are going towards our organization. Some things that we like to focus on and be able to help people who are homeless in Buffalo is in 1990 we started our very first mobile soup kitchen. It's basically a bus that's been converted into a soup kitchen that we bring downtown 5 nights a week. We serve a hot meal to anyone who might be sleeping under the library or anyone who might be downtown during the night. Give them a hot meal, some coats, some hats, gloves, whatever they may need. We also started our food pantry right in Riverside. We had our own food pantry for a bit. It was very small, but since this obscure disease, whose name I don't even want to say anymore, has started, our need has increased by 300%. And there's a lot more people who are showing up to our door needing food for their families. And we just opened up our new food pantry, which is client's choice. So they can walk in, they can be able to choose their own groceries from each of the food groups, and it looks really nice inside there. It looks like you walk in, it's like a mini Wegmans. We've also been not only supplying our own mobile soup kitchen, but we've also been making hot meals that we've been supplying for 2 homeless shelters in downtown Buffalo. Each shelter about 50 people each, so that's 100 people every night. And what our main focus on is serving the community through dignified service. And some of you may know, some of you may not know, but when you're on the streets and you live homeless for a really long time, you're basically you're fighting for your meals. You're basically living like an animal. The way people talk to you, and it's just really hard on the mind and the body. And a lot of them, when you get treated and live like an animal for so long, you might start to really believe that. And so we try to change that, and so they can walk into our doors and they can get a hot meal handed to them with a volunteer with a smiling face who greets them, wants to get to know them, talks with them, really encourages them. I want people to be able to bring their children to our our food pantry right in Riverside, and not even know that their parents are going to a food pantry because it just looks like a nice grocery store where they can go and pick out food for their families. And and that means a lot to me. I grew up in a household where my family didn't always have a lot, but my parents did a really incredible job at making sure that our needs were met, and that their financial hardships and the things we were going through none of that stress was ever put on us children, and that means a lot. And for those of you here who are teachers or educators or involved in the school, you guys play a huge role actually in preventing people from becoming homeless. There are many children. I've read recently that a huge percentage of foster children end up homeless once they age out of the foster care. Children who are graduating from school and ending up on the streets within a few years because they're not properly equipped with the knowledge to be able to take care of themselves. So a lot of you play a huge role in preventing that. Focus on the children, focus on equipping them with the knowledge and the skills that they need to be able to thrive in the world today. And really respect and appreciate everything you do. Really appreciate being able to come out here and say a few words and be able to represent Hearts for the Homeless and be able to talk about what your donations are going towards. So thank you very much.
And finally, Mr. John Willie.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm not very good at this, but thank you for mentioning me earlier, but I just want to let everybody know that this is not a one-man effort. Mike showed us that. It takes a community to make an event like this happen. I'm proud to know Mike. I've only known Mike about 4.5 years, but I can tell you that he was the embodiment of what humanity is meant to be, who we should be to each other, to people we know, people we don't know. He quickly became a friend outside of work. And what I could tell you is that he had so much passion for not just this event, not just the Kids in Big Picture program, friends, his family, loved his boys, his wife. This guy just really, genuinely was such a great human being that I couldn't help by being better by just knowing him. And I think if anyone here knows Mike and knew Mike, that they knew that. And that image of who we should be to each other definitely resonated to who we are today. You know, I was thinking earlier, you know, something that I could say to be impactful, but just the fact that every one of you that are here of your own free will and not under duress is you know, just testament to what Mr. Starr started, and I call him Mr. Starr because I had him as an educator. So I don't want to do him any injustice by calling him Jerry, but Mike believed in what this was about, and I know if Blake and Patrick could be here, they would. But on behalf of the entire B&G staff of the Kenton schools, it took quite a few individuals, a lot of which are here tonight, that really have worked so hard to make this happen. And it's a lot of work, I will tell you. So I don't know how Mike always did it every year, to be very honest with you. But if I could rip off a line from Nike, one of the things that I would like to say to everybody here is be like Mike. If you guys remember that or are old enough to remember that. Be like Mike. Impress upon your kids, your grandkids, your neighbor kids, the kids in schools if you're educators. Let's get people involved into this event and to this belief of helping other people, being good human beings. That's what I take away from knowing Mike. And I challenge myself to be better every day, so I'm challenging each and every one of you to be here. Whether you're a council person, you're an educator, you work for B&G, it doesn't matter what your title, what your walk of life is. I challenge you to be better, and I challenge you to make someone else better. And let's bring some heavier attention to this. I'd like to see this event next year grow bigger than it is today. And to Mikey, we love you, buddy, and we'll be here for you.
Thank you, John. So folks, that's where we'll finish off this, if we call it a formal part of the evening. Well, just to bring us back together, we're fortunate. It's not about vaxxed, not vaxxed, masked, unmasked, public, private. It's about being one Kenton. We're one family. We come together. We realize how fortunate we are, and we always work for each other. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you for everything that you do. And let's be one Kenton together and move this community forward. Thank you very much.